Part 1 of 3 of the Louisiana Special School District's Board of Directors meeting, November 1st, 2022. Link to Part 2 is in the video's description.
Good morning.
Các bạn. Tại em cái gì? Chào. Giật
Able to hear and see us with whatever accommodations we need to put in place. Just want to remind anyone that speaks to make sure that you speak slowly and give a few seconds after each sentence so that our interpreters can interpret what is being said to the people that they are herewith representing. All right, so I am going to call to order the meeting. And with that being said, we have a student here named who is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us. And one other reminder, when someone speaks, we're gonna ask everybody to state their name. So I am Christy Flynn. Ronnie Morris is here with us today, and he is gonna lead us in a prayer.
Would stand and bow your heads. Father God, Lord, in your word it says that godly wisdom with heaven is first of all pure, then peace, love, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit. Father, I pray today that you would bestow upon us godly wisdom at this board as we consider a policy that's going to benefit our children. Father, those with the biggest hearts and the greatest needs. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, this is Christy Flynn again, and we are going to follow our agenda. The second item that we have on our agenda is approval of the August 9th, 2022 meeting minutes. Does everybody have a copy of the minutes, been able to look over them?
It's not on the agenda, but I think we can use a roll call.
Okay, we're gonna do a roll call very quickly, and I'm just gonna go around and call your name, and you can just raise your hand. Mary Smith. Mary. Thank you, Mary. Sherry. Mayor. Thank you, Sherry. Dr. Bell. Thank you, Dr. Bell. Michelle Jones. Okay, Ashley.
Alicia Valier here.
Ronnie Morris. Vicki Smith. Hey, Vicki is not here.
Not here. I am Kitty Davis.
Thank you, Kenny. And Christy's here. And then Maria Ennis. Thank you.
Maria Annis is here.
Thank you. Audra. And then Mr. Burton. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we will go back to the approval of the August 9th, 2022 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I think we have.
Give it a few seconds.
I think there were requests from at least one board member to give a hard copy of the minutes before we proceed with approval. And we could get hard copies, passed out, when we come back to this item.
Okay. Okay, we have somebody going to get a hard copy of the minutes. All right, so we will skip that item. Okay, so we are going to go to the agenda item number 3, and that is the acting superintendent's report.
Hi, good morning, I'm Catherine Grenier. Thank you all for being here, and I love, seeing everybody's face in the crowd, so that we can have a good public engagement. I do want you all to know that this room feels a little warm right now. I've contacted our operations team, and they have turned up the air so that it won't be quite as warm. Thank you. Okay, so since the beginning of the fiscal year and the school year, we have done a lot. So I am going to give an overview of what we have done so far, especially since our last meeting. And I'm going to actually report it out by each of our divisions. I've had our division directors assist with this report. But it's very important that you all, as a board and the public, know what we have been doing over here at the SSD. So starting with the Office of the Department of Instructional Support and Accountability. Hold up. That's not how it is. It's not. That's okay, I'll just. Yeah.
Okay, come on, good.
Okay. So, since our last meeting, we have hired a new CAO who is over our academics area. With that, the office has been collaborating with the two schools to ensure that there's professional development through American Reading Company. We're providing teachers all the necessary tools that they need to implement Tier 1 curriculum with all the resources that they need. We're organizing and implementing weekly cluster meetings, especially with the LSD, since we are a UIR school. So to bring us from a deaf/D school, we are trying to at least do some gains. We're also trying to create meaningful after-school professional development, because in order to develop our scholars and our children, it is best that we also develop our teachers also, who are going to be in the front lines with our students. Middle school and high school teachers are currently participating in a book study. We're also doing a new teacher recruitment campaign with our local universities, because again, that is our front lines into trying to mitigate some of the teacher shortage and part of our recruitment plan in order to get highly qualified, certified teachers on our campus. So also within our instructional support, having meaningful data and using that data to move forward is very important. And again, professional development is very key. So during the summer, we focus on our teacher supports in the areas of ELA, social studies, science, and math. And we're continuing, again, to support LSD to bring them out of CIR, UIR status. And we're also working with the Department of Education, Office of School Improvement. We know where some of the deficiencies are based on our data and what the information that's provided to us from the Department of Education. Being in compliance is very important, and we want to continue being in compliance with state and federal laws. So again, we have been doing our partnerships with American Reading Company, DBQs for social studies, School Kit, Eureka for math, and Kagan Strategies. Districts and school leaders will continue ongoing support with NIET, and we are actually doing it at both schools because now we're one district, and instead of having different evaluations, we're using what the state has asked, which is the NIET. We are also providing ongoing support for our J campus with lesson plans, because again, having a lesson plan is very important to know what instructions we are providing to our students on a weekly basis. And we are also looking into our CTE, so we are looking at right now an agreement with Southern University for our FFA program and our agri-science that is being led by Ms. Johnson at Next, we have our special schools program. Although right now on this campus we have LSD and LSBI, we also have the SSP programs within our district. So right now, our SSP program, which is our highest enrollment count, is at 232. We're proud that we have several programs that are fully staffed with instructors. Our PSSE is implementing a variety of innovative programs to address the needs of all our students in the SSP program. CLSSC, we're continuing with our partnership with the Rapides Parish School System to meet the needs of our students. And again, professional development, continuing professional development activities to strengthen our instructor capacity. We are also clearing out old equipment and technology at some of our sites, working with our operations department. Teachers and leaders have completed, again, the NIET training. But, you know, as we're working through things, there are some challenges. We are still experiencing, you know, difficulty hiring. I don't think that it's just within our district. It's actually countrywide that there is shortages in teachers. But we do want to, you know, bring that to everybody's attention that there are shortages and we are working as best as we can with what we have, but knowing that our number one priorities are our students and educating our students based on what is mandated of us by state and federal laws. Okay. So the next office. So while we are focusing on our students and academics, we also have to focus on our staff. So our Human Resources Office held a benefits fair that was in August for additional and supplemental insurance for our staff. We have also over the summer provided a one-time COVID supplements to our classroom teachers, our counselors, speech therapists, librarians, outreach teachers, and ESS support facilitators and paraeducators. Because our teachers and our support staff have gone above and beyond in order to educate our students, especially during the trying times of COVID, we were able to find some funds within our budget to do a one-time supplement based on what the work that has been provided. In addition, we have also, go to the next slide. We have also provided everybody with the mandated increases from the MFP from the legislature, so $1,500 for certificated personnel and $750 for unclassified support personnel. And then this is the big question since our last meeting. I was able to, my other duties, besides just acting superintendent, I am also the deputy of finance and administration. So I oversee and understand our funding and finance. So I was able to go and find some funding to bring our teachers up to our current pay scale. From what I have been told, our teachers have not had their step increases since the implementation of our pay scale in 2012. So right now, everybody has been moved up to where they are based on their years of experience. So right now, we are going to be looking at a new pay scale that will be a little more competitive and good. So again, with these adjustments, we are trying to level the playing field. Because we are a state agency, we cannot provide increases and use our ESSER funding the way that other LEAs, traditional LEAs have been able to. They're able to use that funding from ESSER and to increase millages through taxes. Again, we're a state agency. We rely on our funding from the state legislature. Although we have two LEAs, our LSD and LSBI schools, we are still, at the end of the day, a state agency and have to abide by state rules and state funding rules. So again, state statutes Title 17 and the Public Finance Title 39 to be in compliance with. So again, Human Resources is working on a new pay plan that is going to come before our board. We are looking and talking to some of our department heads, especially what's going on at the SSP sites, to be more competitive with our local sites. Okay, so our next area is education technology. Right now, we have 12 professional development sessions that are offered. We have been using Google, so we are providing a Google one-on-one class and updating spreadsheets to work with student data and performance, as I guess Josh would say, make magic work with Canva. And of course, professional learning and professional development for our teachers. So we are really stressing supporting our teachers along with supporting our students. The Office of Business and Accounting, again, while we have our 2 LEAs, we have to have support staff to help support the overall function of our district overall as a state agency. So within our business office, we are trying to create a new atmosphere to reflect the collaboration within the overall district to help support employees, staff, meet their needs. Again, usually your finance areas and your administration is the backbone of your operations. So far, as you can see, when you're a state agency, there's lots of compliance and lots of audits. So we've completed and have passed our travel audit, our LeParc training, purchasing books on time and receiving our books. As you can see, there's lots of different things that are going on in the background with our finance area. So again, because we're a residential facility, our student health center, we have to, while the students are here, we have to have medical care 24 hours, 24/7 while the students are here. So we've had campus-wide training. Of course, training is very important because we are here again to serve our students and make our students a priority. So we've had 7 CPR classes, 1 initial medical training for non-licensed staff, 3 medical administration review classes, 2 staff trainings for child-specific ER plans, and multiple high-risk bloodborne pathogen trainings. So with that, we're trying to hire additional WAE staff in order to support, especially when, right now with flu season, there's been multiple illnesses with our students and our staff, so we still have to continue on with our operations. We also have additional screening that had happened back in September, and of course we're following our COVID-19 guidance. So residential and transportation, again, this is to support our students. We've actually gone back and had field trips. So there's been some off-site field trips with the community that has resumed. Sites are considered and selected by student input, and that included the trampoline park, movies, food vendors, and shopping. And we've had a back-to-school bash, a residential open house for all our dorm students. Delta Gamma has been very instrumental with volunteering and coming weekly to work with our students. And we have community volunteers present for ASL reading nights for our students in our ASD dorm. We had a trunk or treat event last night, and we also had trick-or-treating for all our offices for our students. students. And PBIS rewards students for participating, with McDonald's breakfast, Cane's for dinners, and donuts. So our weekly charter routes have been consolidated to 5 weekly round-trip routes, with 6 surrounding local education agencies are providing daily transportation to our campus, with East Feliciana being our newest partner. And then our residential service team, Ms. Rhonda Black, is also offering ASL classes to all our bus drivers. So again, we are doing more with our community, and we understand some of the impact and, of course, community engagement. So that completes my report. Thank you.
Ms. Garnier, one question.
Yes, sir.
Earlier you mentioned working to get the step increases for all of the teachers, and it sounded like you said you had gotten that through. Then you also indicated that because SSD is a state agency, not an LEA, that you're not able to make pay increases like that. So could you clarify that a little bit? Did teachers get step increases, or are they not
Yes.
going to?
So this year, teachers got step increases through legislative mandate, which was put into the MFP, $1,500 increase and $750 increase for non-certificated. The other increase, we were able to bring all of our teachers up to scale. Right now, our current scale is our scale from 2012. So every single teacher and support staff, based on their years of experience, are now brought up and are current with where they should be on our current pay scale.
So all instructional staff are based on 2022, 2023 pay scale?
Yes,
And that won't go up again unless there's another legislative mandate?
it won't go up again until we come up with a new pay scale for the district, and that HR and I are working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to follow up on Dr. Bell's comment, the new pay scale that will be considered, that would be with the goal for it to be comparable to local LEAs, if I understand.
Yes, sir. We are looking at surrounding areas, and we are looking at national schools for the deaf and national schools of the blind, so that our pay scale will be competitive, not only with our surrounding areas, but nationally, based on our needs.
Great, thank you. One other comment or question. So first of all, thank you for the comprehensive report. Appreciate the level of detail. There's a lot of interest in staffing. Last year, Bessie worked with State Superintendent Rumley to conduct a survey statewide to help us appreciate the situation with the teacher shortage. And at that time, the estimate was about 2,500 teachers. We were fortunate that the legislators helped us out with legislation, and the survey this year indicated that number was cut about in half, to 1,200 or so. So could you help us here on this campus with a little more detail with regard to the teacher shortage situation, and we seen similar improvements here? Help us appreciate what the vacancy situation might look like, and your outlook to address any concerns there might be.
So right now, our current, we have about 30 teachers at those schools. We do have some vacancies that have been out there. We have found that there were applications for a lot of these positions that have not been looked at. So we have staff, now that we know what the situation is, that the ball has been kind of dropped with looking at applications. Once we know the problem, now we're rectifying that situation, and we are looking at applications. So people, from what we're seeing, are applying, and again, we are doing recruiting initiatives with the universities.
Can you help me out quantitatively? Give give you some sort of estimate, for how many vacancies we're talking about, so have a sense of magnitude?
So from the numbers that I have, it's about maybe 15 to 20 positions between the two schools. It's more so at LSD, since we've had teachers that had vacated well before I took over as acting superintendent.
That's 15 or 20 out of the total staff, along with what?
So right now, I think comparable to our enrollment, because right now LSD has enrollments about 80 students, and right now we have staff, instructors about 28. So I need to go back and actually work with our instructional staff to kind of look at our teacher to student ratio.
I express my concern that my numbers, that's about 40%.
So, Mr. Morris, we are looking at ways right now to be very strategic with our teacher-student ratio, the certifications of our teachers, and making sure that they're certified teachers in the classroom teaching our students using Tier 1 curriculum. So we are working on that. Hopefully, by the next board meeting, we can give you more of an update on where we are with our overall vacancies and our recruitment plans, and an update also on where we are with Tier 1 curriculum and where our students are. Around Thanksgiving is letter grades will come out, so we will get a better sense. But from what we know right now, our scores aren't really going to change much. LSD will still remain a DF school based on data from last year. And VI might have improved a little bit. We're hoping that our C grade will now be a B grade.
Thank you.
Couple of questions. I think Mr. Kenny, Mr. Davis.
Can you explain a little bit more about the Tier 1 curriculum and what does that look like?
So our Tier 1 curriculum is our state standard. We have to follow state standard in the way and the methods and the curriculum that we're using to teach our students.
Could you email us the Tier 1 curriculum and what that might look like so we can overlook that?
Yes, definitely. We will send it right after the board meeting.
Okay.
Back to the vacancies, you said you're actively recruiting from what the local universities are offering specialized training. What type of recruiting are you all doing? Are you targeting specific?
So our instructional support staff is working on a plan, and they are actually going to go out to the universities, both Southern and LSU, to talk with their School of Education, to partner with them on recruiting, student teachers or those that are graduating to actually come here.
Are they offering like specialized web certifications or VI certifications at those universities?
As part of the plan right now, there isn't. But I know Mr. Gore is teaching ASL at LSU, so maybe we can partner with them.
And you said you're doing a lot of after-school PDs. Is there a lot of participation from the teachers with that, and do they receive an additional stipend?
No, there's no additional stipend. We actually use it within their PD time that is allotted. We're just providing more substantive type of professional development, not just giving teachers time to
you have a new CAO. Was that an in-house, or how did that recruitment process look like, after the hiring process?
The hiring process was actually, we had the application through civil service, and we had applicants. And then a committee was formed, headed by our general counsel, Mr. Maneri, with the two principals of the schools and other leaders within the school district were part of the committee. They did the initial interviews, and I interviewed the top candidate based on the rubric that Mr. Maneri provided. So again, the top candidate was chosen out of the applicant pool. I did not know Ms. Harris Edwards prior to meeting her that day for the interview.
And I know you're the financial guru. Are we fully utilizing our IDA fund?
We are using our IDA funds. What's out there is actually, because it's federal dollars, you have so many years to spend it, and you have the ability to roll over our funding. So to be strategic, normally you use your funding that you're going to lose first, which again, because we're a state agency and we don't have the ability to have a general fund balance like other traditional LEAs, we tend to use more of our state general fund, which is predominantly our fund source from the state. So we use that first, and then with the ability to roll over IDEA funds, we use that later on. Our IDEA funding is actually based on a formula, a methodology that's actually used by the feds. And we don't get as much IDEA funding as you would think, that although all of our students, should qualify for IDEA funding.
I think it's great that you're teaching, giving the bus drivers ASL classes. Are they taking advantage of that? You feel like they're taking advantage of it?
All our bus drivers are taking the ASL class, and it's every day at 2 o'clock here in this room.
Good, 100% participation.
100% participation.
And something came up in the last meeting about when you're meeting with the principals. Have you been documenting those meetings?
So yes, all our meetings are documented in notes and with agendas. So I can provide that when we discuss, my meetings and my job performance and the executive session.
Thank you, and thank you for your comprehensive information.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a question. This is Christy Flynn. Regarding the 2012 pay scale. So when you took over as acting superintendent and you looked at the pay scale, you recognized that the step increases that were put into the 2012 pay scale had not been given. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so now they have been given, everybody is on par with the pay scale.
Everybody's on par with where they need to be based on their years of experience.
So technically, somebody could have been here since 2012 and had not received a step increase until recent.
You are correct, and they have not since, there might have been sparsely here and there, but I was able to provide it for every single instructor on campus.
Okay, thank you.
And that includes the SSD.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that all of our students qualify for IDEA funds, but they're not getting them. Can you elaborate on that?
We are getting it, our enrollment count is so low, it's also based on our enrollment. So the less students you have, the less IDA funding you will receive.
So on a per capita basis, then we're getting everything that is available.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And there's more information on federal websites on allowability and the use of IDA funding. We can also send that out so that, everybody can be on the same page when it comes to IDA funding and federal funding that's provided to us.
I Sherry Crosby speaking. So you were speaking about the IDA funds. I noticed that there's a $20,000 amount that was carried over from last year. I was wondering why there was so much money that was carried over instead of it being used that year.
Because we were able to use other fund sources, and it's strategic sometimes to roll over funds because those funds you have up to 2 years to spend. So in order to not lose funding that, like state general fund, we don't get to keep that. So if I don't spend the state general fund, I lose the state general fund. But with federal funding, I am able to roll that over and use it next year.
But if you keep carrying over such a large amount of money, why aren't you able to use up most of that money and carry over a smaller
So are
amount?
you saying 20,000 of the IDEA? Our overall budget is 36 million. 20,000 is like immaterial in the financial world.
Should we not use that IDA money to increase teacher salary?
Because of the small amount of IDEA funding we use, it is not strategic financially to use IDEA funding for recurring items, such as salaries. Our salary out of our $36 million budget comprises of 87% of our overall budget.
So what is that, about 30 million?
It's about, with salaries and benefits, our overall salary is about 17, so you're right, it's closer to 20-something million dollars. And the other majority of our spending is actually student transportation. Our contract is well over $1 million.
And how are you looking to recruit teachers and staff if we don't have funding?
We have funding. We have a $36 million budget.
For recruitment purposes, to recruit staff, teachers?
Out of our $36 million, 87% is salaries and benefits. So using attrition, that is what we are using for recruitment. Recruitment for teachers is actually using our civil service tool, which is we pay them about $17,000 a year. So we would not use any funding that will go directly towards direct student services for recruiting. Because again, we're already paying civil service for those services.
Okay, I just need clarity. Okay, 36 million, 87% salaries and benefits. How much of that is administrative and how much for teachers? You know that breakdown?
I don't have that breakdown, but we can provide that to you. But I can tell you that the majority of our staff are instructional and support staff and not administrative.
Good morning, this is Audra with Louisiana Association for the Blind. Our recruitment efforts, is it just strictly contained in Louisiana, or are we broadcasting across the United States?
From what I know, our HR has been trying to broadcast, but we are utilizing more so in-house because our teachers would be more local, and it's easier, for them to come than, but that doesn't mean that we won't hire somebody from out of state. I know that LSD has actually hired more out-of-state teachers recently.
That's good to know. We're just, Louisiana is a small state, and at least with what I do, we work with SFA, CLM Austin in Texas, and of course there's FSU. So there's a ton of programs across the United States training these specialists, and they're leaving certified. It would be, I feel like it's incumbent upon us to start reaching outside the state of Louisiana.
And we have our human resources director here that can answer more into details.
Our state-provided website is powered by NeoGov, and it is part of government jobs.
Hello, I'm Sasha Patterson, I'm the Human Resources Director. Fortunately, is this an okay position? Fortunately, we're we provided Block Careers, which is powered by NeoGov software. The NeoGov software is utilized and is part of governmentjobs.com. That site has been proven, is broadcast throughout the whole U.S. So other providers, other universities, UNO, a lot of the universities, Southern, pick up and use governmentjobs.com. And so it is a good recruiting tool, not only for Louisiana, but all 50 states.
I have a question for you about hiring and the advertising, posting of the positions. Who does the hiring? Who reviews those applications? The principal of the school or the HR department does it? Who does the reviewing?
The posting is done by Human Resources. The initial review is done by Human Resources. Then it's referred to the hiring person for the school. So it depends on the vacancy and the level of the vacancy. But yes, the applications are referred directly to the school. But that's not after, that is after our analysts pull the list, make sure that it's correctly posted and so forth. So yes, we have a joint effort between Human Resources and the school.
Thank you. I have a question for Captain Grenier. This is Sherry Crossett. I remember you mentioned something about the teachers left before you took over the position, and I was wondering how many teachers have left while you have been the acting superintendent?
Yes, I do have that number in my folder. This must be where I count. So far, I counted 5, and they are actually in the SSP program and LSD. None at LSD so far. Yes, sir.
Okay, I see.
Throughout the state, like you said earlier, a lot of the districts in the state are addressing the teacher shortage, and they're addressing it in different ways. Some of them are taking advantage of technology that's available, and they're leveraging other resources externally with broadband connectivity. Has the school considered a similar approach here, to where they could access subject matter experts that would meet the needs of the students here over broadband connection? Or even is there such a network that exists, really up in the United States?
I need to talk to our instructional team and our educational technology team about that, and maybe we can work with you. But to be honest, there hasn't really been any conversation. We tried to do recruitment, and that didn't work.
Yeah, I appreciate the follow-up. I'm really interested in direct construction. Thank you.
Okay, this is Christy Flynn again, and we are gonna have Chaz come up and just talk to us about our public comment policy that helps our meetings to run effectively and smoothly. So he's just gonna give us a little update on the policy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to, like, as Christy said, give you a very brief update on the public comment policy. This is something that we have implemented in the past, but hasn't actually been written down on paper. So I wanted to make sure that everyone is clear on the policy and that we're all on the same page before we get to our action items. I actually saw a few of you submitted cards for item number 3. For those of you who did submit cards for item number 3, if you had a question or a comment about that, I'll try to figure out a way for you to address that through a separate method, but because that is not a voting item, we do not do public comment on the non-voting items. That is consistent with the state law, and that has been consistent with our policy. So very briefly, I'll run through the policy, just to let you know, and again, this is all consistent with Louisiana Revised Statute 42, so it's just pulled directly out of there. Title 42, I apologize. So a public comment period shall be held before any vote that is taken on an agenda item. So it has to be before items to which there will be a vote. So currently, we have item number 4, where there will be a vote. That's the approval of the meeting dates. If anyone has comments on that. Item number 2, that's the approval of the meeting minutes, which we will take up shortly. We have not done yet, so if anyone has comments on that. Item number 5, which is the approval of the grievance committee recommendations. Comments can be taken on that. And then item number 6, if there is a vote or anything connected to that, items can be taken on that as well, or comments can be taken on that as well. Aside from that, general reports or discussions of the board, there's typically not a time for public comment as allowed by law. So we would like for anyone who has a public comment that they would like to give to fill out a comment card beforehand, citing the specific item to which you wish to comment. So if it is item number 5 that you wish to comment on, just put the 5 on there, list your name. You will be addressed by the board chair at the time it is time to speak. And then upon being addressed by the board chair, you can come up to the podium and make your comments. So no individual may speak without first being recognized by the presiding officer, whoever that may be, and here's the board chair, Christy. Each person may speak for not more than 3 minutes on each item and may only speak once on each agenda item. Typically, we will have a place for you guys in the future to indicate whether or not additional time is requested in the future on the comment cards. We don't currently have that. So that additional time would be up to 5 minutes. For the purposes today, we will allow everyone 5 minutes so that we don't have to sit here and pick and choose who gets 5 minutes and who does not. So for the purposes today, 5 minutes to speak. In the future, it will be 3 or 5 if you indicate that there is a reason on the card that you may need some additional time to speak. No person may allot their time to another person. So each person's individual time to speak is their time. You can't pass off your time to a friend who wishes to speak again. When the individual has been called to speak, you shall approach the podium and address the board. You shall limit your comments to issues that are strictly relevant to that agenda item. So if you are speaking about the approval of the meeting minutes, your comment needs to be germane to the approval of the meeting minutes. If it is not, we will ask you to stop, and we will ask you to sit down and wait your turn until an item that is germane to that issue. The individual shall refrain from asking questions or making requests of the board or staff. This is a time for comments, not questions, clarifying questions to the board, or some other issue. If you need to contact the board for answers to a question, there are ways to do that online. This is the time for you to state your comments, whether it be a statement of approval or a statement of grievance to the board about a particular agenda item and the vote upcoming on that agenda item. Not for additional questions or requests from the board. Further, the board should, there should not be any defamatory comments, accusatory comments, or comments speaking relative to a individual's performance or a potential employee's performance here at SSD. We don't want to make any accusatory comments. We don't want to have this orderly process evolve into argument. We want to make sure that we are making comments germane to issues, but not defaming or accusing. If we have found, the board has found that you are being defamatory or accusatory, we will ask you to sit down and the remainder of your time will be forfeited. And then if you're in a group, a particular group, and you're speaking on behalf of the group, the board may limit speakers from that group to 2 individuals per group to come up and speak. So that if there's, 50 people coming on behalf of a particular group, we'll take comments from 2 of them. But if you're speaking in your own individual capacity, that's not an issue. If we're going to add an agenda item to the meeting, so if we add an agenda item to the meeting here at the board meeting, the board votes to add an agenda item, or we end up taking a vote on something that previously the board had not said that they were going to take a vote, we will make sure that there is a time to orally recognize potential speakers. So if it's something that's added and you didn't have an opportunity to fill out a comment card, if it's something new, we will take oral requests for speakers and make sure that we're pointing out those speakers and giving them adequate time to speak on the few agenda items if they require a vote. Let's see. So and then after the agenda items, the board will deliberate, or after the public comment, the board will take its time to deliberate the comments and deliberate the issues based upon the comments, and then we'll lead to a vote afterwards. So again, that's all consistent with Louisiana Revised Statute 1781, 4214, 4215, 4216, and 4223. If you need any reference to those items, please feel free to ask me later, and I can make sure that you get those.
Yes, sir, thank you for that comprehensive understanding of the protocol here. I was curious, has the site been able to provide some sort of visual indication of the time that's available for each individual speaker so that they can manage their time before the board?
Yes, is there a way that we can get a clock or some kind of visual aid up on the, I'm just asking generally, there is, okay, perfect, great. So we will have a clock or some sort of visual aid so that speakers can see how much time they have remaining. Anything else? All right, Christy.
Thank you. Okay, this is Christy Flynn again, and we are going to move on the agenda. All right, so we are going to move to number 4, approval of the 2023 meeting dates.
Yeah, I will, right after this.
Okay, we had talked about the meeting dates. Who has a list of the next meeting dates? Do you have those with you?
I can get them.
Okay, because there was one date that we did have on there that is Fat Tuesday, so we will not be able to meet on that date. So we need to look at our calendars quickly and see if we can meet the Tuesday before or the Tuesday after. So I'm gonna grab my calendar and let everybody else check. She's gonna get the dates. So just give us a second for that. Okay, so the meeting dates are February 21st, which would be Fat Tuesday. So we need to look at either the 14th or the 28th. And then May 16th, August 22nd, and November 7th. One more time? Okay. Okay. February 21st, which is the date that we need to change. So we need to make that either February 14th or February 28th. And then the other
I
days.
suggest it be February 28th.
Okay.
Do we need to take a vote on, to change the 28th? I mean, I will at the end.
We just vote on all of them.
Okay. So for February 28th instead of the 21st? Okay.
All right, so the dates would be February 28th, May 16th, August 22nd, and the last day would be November 7th.
I move approval of those dates.
Do we have any public comment regarding the dates for our next meetings? Okay, so it looks like everybody is in agreement to those dates. Sharon.
Do I need to move to accept it? So I move that we accept the dates.
Thank you. Okay, so it looks like our dates are good. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Review and approval.
Madam Chair, so that motion carries because there's no exception, is my understanding.
The what?
That motion carries because there's no exception.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Okay, yes, that's it. I'm really not good at Robert's rules, but I'm depending on all of you to kind of help me, so I'm learning as we go. And we have so much time in between, I forget sometimes. So, it looks like those dates are good, we don't have any people worried with those dates, so we can move forward. Okay, we're going on to number 6, agenda item number 6.
Number 5.
Okay, 5, sorry. Agenda item number 5, review and approval of the grievance committee recommendations. Who will be speaking? Okay, Chaz.
So just so everyone is clear, by the way, Chaz Griffin, attorney for the board, just so everyone is clear, the vote here that the board will be looking to take will be regarding employee or accepting the recommendations of the grievance committee related to the grievances filed by Dr. Heather Lane, and sending those recommendations to the SSD for implementation. So that would be the vote here, is to accept and adopt these recommendations from the board. Just so we're all on the same page here. Or from the grievance committee of the board. So the grievance committee of the board of directors reviewed the grievances filed by Dr. Heather Lane on September 13, 2022 and October 6, 2023.
Members of the grievance committee.
Oh, yes. Yes, the members of the grievance committee are Michelle, Kitty, John Davis, and Christy Clinton. Those are three-member committee. They were able to review in full the grievances. Just to make clear before we move forward, the current grievance policy of the SSD is the grievance policy that was in place when SSD was a body of the Louisiana Department of Education. Accordingly, that grievance policy is a bit outdated. That grievance policy certainly did not include or review by Bessie of any grievances of the LDOE. So there was no place for a board review within that policy. Because of the nature of these grievances, the board determined that within its power and purview, it would, to the best of its ability, review these grievances. Although there's not really a laid out, defined role for the board in that process. So part of our recommendations are also going to be related to that. But that's just to let everybody know why the board took this on at this point in time.
One more question. And so, whenever the board conducts a vote, is it a majority vote or is it 2 votes on each item?
This is going to be a majority vote. For adopting the recommendations, it'll be a majority vote. It's a typical majority vote. It's not special 2/3. So we can't really discuss the specifics of the grievances because of the nature of those, the private nature. Of course, the individuals within their, who filed grievances would like to discuss it. They can, the board cannot discuss, given privacy issues, what was specifically said in those grievances. But we can discuss our recommendations and discuss our general findings, overall findings. So the grievance committee provides the following findings related to the grievances. First, many of the grievances seem to be have been caused by a dispute in personalities between SSD administrators and LSD administrators. Second, there were concerning allegations of potential legal violations from administrators. However, additional information would be required from the SSD to further investigate those issues. And that may be outside the purview of the board in its capacity. There's currently not a clearly defined process at the SSD for reviewing ADA complaints at the administrative level, which has caused a delay, we believe, in this process. And it is apparent that cultural competency for the board and SSD regarding deaf individuals may need to be improved. So based upon these findings, the grievance committee recommends the following. First, the board and SSD administrators should undergo annual deaf cultural competency training to foster improvement in communication between LSD, SSD, and the SSD board. Second, SSD should appoint a Section 504 ADA coordinator to monitor and implement the district's compliance with the ADA, including developing appropriate policies and procedures, developing trainings for staff and administrators, ensuring accessibility and accommodations, and reviewing complaints and assisting the district council in conducting investigations. Third, the The board should review the job performance of Kathy Grenier, the acting superintendent, at the November 1st, 2022 board meeting. Ms. Grenier should be provided the opportunity to discuss her actions related to these grievances directly with the board. That will be happening today, as we indicated. And then 4, SSE must revise the current grievance process policy to provide clear opportunities for clear opportunities for board review in instances such as this present matter, and clear powers for the board within those opportunities, or B, to provide for another administrative route for higher review of grievances under the grievance policy. Something that is clearly defined as to who the SSD superintendent designee will be in instances such as this one. Additionally, the board should draft hearing procedures for grievances should the board be required to hear such grievances. So those are the 4 recommendations from the board based upon the review of the grievance committee within the power of the board. I believe now, as long as the president of the board finds it appropriate, we can move on to public comment at this point.
How many grievances are we talking about, and who submitted the grievances?
There's two larger grievances, 2 major grievances. There were some other complaints that were not able to be heard as grievances related to disciplinary actions because the grievance policy explicitly states that disciplinary actions are not able to be reviewed under the current grievance policy. So that there should be separate lines of review for those instances.
So 2 grievances, and who submitted the 2 grievances?
It was Dr. Heather Lane.
She submitted both.
I'm sorry?
She submitted both.
She submitted both, yes.
Thank you for clarification.
I need to go look at the public comment cards to see if we had comments on it.
I have a question. Mr. Griffin? I have a
Just a
question.
moment. Okay, so we need to motion to approve first we need to motion to approve the recommendations of the board, then we'll move to public comments. So motion to approve someone from the board needs to make a motion, I can't make the motion.
Can I make,
I have a question.
I'll make a motion.
Yes.
I have a question. Mrs. Sherry wants to speak. May I ask a question?
Yes.
Thank you. This is Sherry speaking. I know that you mentioned that Dr. Lane filed a grievance on September, I believe it was September 12th.
September
Around that time?
12th, yes.
Okay, so it's been 1 month. Has the committee sat down and discussed with her, and who did you file the agreements to? I mean, have we heard both sides of it, and is there no action?
Okay, Dr. Crosby, or Sherry, we'll do comments from the board. So I'll answer that question, but let's do comments from the board. So that's a little more, that will go after public comment. Okay, so let's do the motion first,
Okay.
and then we'll do the public comments, then we'll do comments from the board plus question. Just make sure we do this in orderly fashion.
Okay.
All right,
I
motion.
have a motion.
Second motion.
Okay, so now public comment. Do I have the as long as you grant me the ability
Yes,
to call?
I have the ability.
All right. We have Cheryl Russell.
Hi.
My name is Cheryl Russell, and I'm a concerned deaf education professional with over 25 years of experience and a former employee. I was hired as the first second grade teacher for this year. Unfortunately, I had a medical leave, and when trying to return to work, I met with LSD staff on October 13th. I was told that upon returning to work, I would be moved to the 3rd or 4th grade class, being that I was one of the most qualified teachers on this campus. When I said that I wanted to remain in the 1-2 class, I was told that I was needed in that position to try to pull up testing scores. Also, a recent hire over academics stated that there was a new sheriff in town and that things were going to be different. She stated that we are going to get these babies talking, that parents don't understand why, when their children come home, they aren't talking. That they are going to start wearing their hearing devices, and we are now using what? She asked her assistant, what is it called? Total communication, her assistant answered. Yes. We are now going to use total communication, I was told. Her assistant commented for her to look at my face. I'm assuming that my face was displaying the look of utter shock I was experiencing when she said this to me. I was totally taken aback by this meeting and especially that statement. I wish I would have commented, why aren't these parents learning ASL so they can communicate with their deaf children? I would also like to point out that total communication is now considered outdated, and the latest best practice is bilingualism. After careful consideration, I didn't have the confidence that I could safely return to work under this administration. I felt that I was left with no other option than to resign. I am saddened that this is how my relationship with LSBVI had to end, because it started in 1977. I worked here in this brand new building for 5 years. I taught my first year as a teacher at LSD. In conclusion, this school is at a crossroads. Faculty, staff, and most of all, the children we serve need help at the top. They need people at the top in positions that make decisions that affect their lives to have the qualifications, expertise, and experience of the deaf, deafblind, and blind populations, as well as knowledge of the rich language, culture, and community of those they are entrusted with servicing. I believe Dr. Heather Lang is such a person. She is a role model, she cares, she wants what is best for each student. However, she has had to wear too many hats without adequate support. She was the director, principal, assistant principal, ISSP, counselor, IEP facilitator, task coordinator, even at times a substitute, and probably more that I don't even know about. There is a problem getting and keeping qualified personnel, as well as with the seemingly long and drawn-out hiring process. Teachers and parents are having to take on extra duties and responsibilities due to the shortages. They are also having to deal with behavior concerns, since there aren't any counselors in elementary or one that can communicate with students in ASL. All of this is leaving educators feeling stressed out, overworked, and unsupported, all of which interferes with student learning. A successful learning environment is a must for these students. I am here today because I care about the students and people I've worked with at LSDBI. I pray that you do also. I appreciate you giving me the time today to voice my thoughts and concerns.
Can we ask her questions, or is that one?
I'm sorry?
Can we ask her questions?
No, they get comments and then they go sit back down. We don't have time for question and answer, but if you would like to meet with them afterwards or to ask questions directly, we can do that. Okay, just a reminder, we're talking right now about the recommendations to the board, and whether or not we're going to accept the recommendations that have been in place. So please, I want everybody to have an opportunity to speak. There may be a time for you to speak that may fit within another category, and maybe not this one. So if your comments are going to be germane to another category, whether it be number 6, which is the review of the executive session and review of Dr. Granier's performance, maybe wait for that item to have your time to speak. But please be sure that your items are germane, your comments are germane to adopting the recommendations for the board, whether or not that's proposing additional recommendations or challenging the current recommendations that are in place. Oh, sorry, Catherine Granier, not a doctor. Okay, we have Jimmy Gore, LAD president, who's the next card up.
Am I going to speak?
You definitely have a card in here. You have a card, so you can come. You have a card now.
All right. Is this better? Okay. Hello, I am Dr. Heather Lane, the former director for Louisiana School for the Deaf. I have been terminated as of October 14th. And I can say after 23 years working in deaf education as a deaf individual born and raised, I understand what our deaf students are going through. I taught for 17 years in California. In Arizona, I was a teacher. I was a principal for 14 years altogether. And I came to LSD, and I completed my 2-year term here. And I feel that I put and invested my time into LSD. And when I first began working here, yes, the school was an F school. And for 10 years or more, it was an F school. And so of course the district wasn't able to do anything to improve that. After my first year, we were able to make gains and become a D school. And which I was very proud of that small step, but still, we made that progress. And so I look forward to the next school year, this past the 2022 school year, to see how our score would be if we improved any more. Because I saw the teachers and staff investing their time. And they were finally able to have a true leader who understood them well. To my comment, since Ms. Granier has taken over as acting superintendent, a teacher retired, a total of 5 teachers have resigned. And 2 parents have resigned. For the exceptional school services, 3 resigned and 1 retired, who were all under acting superintendent. With the grievance process, I was very disappointed that no one from the grievance committee had reached out to me to hear my side, even though it was a personal issue. It was actually more deep than that, especially what's happening now with all the programs on this campus. It's not just our school at LSD, it's also LSDI. I am asking you, in good faith, to follow the March 2018 report. It clearly describes both schools, LSD and LSDI, that should have someone as an expert in their field working with those students. Currently, the chief academic officer is not an expert, and she does not have administrative certificate or in leadership. So now I do need to leave, and I'm asking you to consider what is best for our students. I put the time in with these students, with these families, these parents. I understand where they're coming from, what they need. But does the district understand? They do not. They look at data, at numbers. That's all that's important to them, is testing and numbers. Of course, that is important. We do want to improve our scores. We want to improve our letter grade. But our students are struggling. Language deprivation is happening. 85% of our students struggle with communication at home. We are here to support them. We need the parents to work together with us to see their child thrive. Research proves that. So thank you for your time.
End of part 1. A link to part 2 is in the video's description.